We always say it's not about achieving, it's not about gaining, but it's about becoming, because if you're focusing on developing as a person, no one can take that away from you. Welcome to the Legacy Creator Podcast, a show dedicated to giving you the tools you need to build a profitable, purposeful, and powerful business that lasts. I'm your host, Ashton Smith. I'm a sixth-generation entrepreneur who is passionate about helping you think bigger so that you can actualize your goals and build your legacy. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Legacy Creator Podcast. Jordan's here again.
Guess who's back? Back again. Jordan's back.
Oh my gosh. But honestly, Jordan is the favorite. She's the star of the show.
No, Ashton's the star. No. We're both the co-stars.
Yeah, we're both co-stars now. It's just our co-star moment. We love it. Man, we just straight up cackled for about 5 minutes before getting this recording going. We're in a silly mood today, but we gotta bring it together, bring it in, because we've got a really good conversation lined up for today. So before we dive into the conversation, if you are excited to be with us today, if you wouldn't mind, we would so appreciate it if you could just take a photo or a boomerang capturing where you're at or the episode that you're listening to, share to Instagram, and tag us at My Awakening Co. so we can reshare and see that you're loving this episode. Today, we're really excited, as always, for this conversation. We're doing some outlining and preparation for this discussion last week. And something that we've noticed in our community recently, and this is particularly true even in one-on-one conversations with private clients and students in our programs, is just this kind of feeling of shame, frustration, disappointment for not being there yet. And there, you can insert whatever there means to you. Maybe it's the place that you feel like you should be by now, or maybe it's a place that you see other people at, right? So maybe a revenue milestone, or a certain stage of business, or a certain team size, or a certain level of freedom and lifestyle. Or maybe there for you is this place of arrival that you've kind of envisioned in your mind. That place where you tell yourself, when I get there, then I'll be happy, or then I'll be fulfilled. This is such a dangerous kind of mind game that we play with ourselves, because at the end of the day, there is no place of arrival, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like this verbiage and this narrative, it just misses the entire point of our unique path, our journey, our day in, day out. It really is not about arriving. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's not about reaching a place of arrival, reaching a destination, but rather it is about becoming along the way. And, becoming, growing, developing, that is what helps you live your purpose, achieve success, whatever that means for you. And most importantly, sustain it. So we really want to highlight that today. And we also want to hit home on the importance of developing skill sets, because I think this is something that we've kind of missed in our generation almost, because we're so focused on the next thing. And so let's kind of set the tone by referencing Malcolm Gladwell.
So in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, The Story of Success, he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And if you don't know what that is, it basically means that it takes approximately 10,000 hours to become skilled in a certain field, to become a skilled expert in a certain area. And I think obviously you can't reach 10,000 hours in 1 year or even 2. I mean, it takes years to really become an expert in something. And I feel like people don't want to put in the time and the effort for that. It sounds like, that's such a long time, but if you want to get really good at something, it's going to take a lot of your time. And I think in the book, he references the Beatles. And I thought this reference was really interesting. He talked about the Beatles, they performed live in Hamburg, Germany, I think it was around 1,200 times over the span of 4 years. It was from 1960 to 1964. And they kind of learned through that experience of performing that many times. They learned even more skills. They developed as musicians and artists, and they also simultaneously became one of the biggest boy bands in history. I just thought that story was really interesting though, because you don't think about like, you know, when you see the Beatles, you're like, oh, they're just like amazing. And you see like where they ended up, but you don't see all the time and the effort that was put into it before that, you know?
Mm-hmm. I even think about, okay, we love 21 Pilots. I don't know if there's any 21 Pilot fans out there, but what video is it that they created where it shows like their growth, like their stadium growth?
Oh, I don't know.
Remember, they have a music video that they created where it shows like some of their first shows they ever performed, and they were in like a teeny tiny room, and there were like 10 to 15 people. Josh would know it. And then they keep showing the progression of time, and it's like, you know, by the end of it, they're performing in stadiums that are sold out, and it's just crazy. Like, these are the things that you don't really see. You don't see the behind the scenes, even starting points for some of the people that you may look up to the most, or like some of these iconic figures in history. Like, we see and we remember some of these iconic moments, but you don't really see the backstory. You don't see the experience and the journey that led to that point. And I think, you know, that is social media, right? It is the highlight reel. We all know this, but as you were talking, it's just like, I was sitting there asking myself, what if I spent 10,000 hours on? Like, can I say that I've spent 10,000 hours on something? Probably not. Like, maybe over the years I have written, you know, for 10,000 hours, but it's been through different stages and different mediums and for different reasons in my life. But like, how long have I really like focused on cultivating a skill set and pouring into that and stewarding something for that long? I think we can all, you know, we can hear this and we can all be challenged by it because our culture is so fast paced. I don't know that many people could say they've spent 10,000 hours doing something.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I can hold myself to that same standard, but like, that is kind of what we want to hit home on today, because I think when we're in this narrative and in this mindset of, oh, like, I just want to be there. I want to, you know, be in that place. I want to have arrived. I want to be where that person is. You know, I'm too far behind. I'm not in the right place. We're focusing on all of the wrong things. And it sounds so cheesy, but we all know the process is where like the juicy goodness is. Like, the process is where we are refined. That's where we become. And we specifically are able to develop skill sets that stick with us. And that is something that stays with you. Like, businesses don't always last. You know, careers don't always last. Life changes, things change, you know, it's up and down, but what stays with you, the skills that you develop stay with you.
Yeah. That's why the focus should be on harnessing your skills and learning. And because in life and in business, it's all a process. It's all a journey. I mean, you're always going to be on some sort of journey, you know? So I feel like accepting that first, and like just accepting the fact that it's a process. But focusing, like putting your focus on the skills, that's where your focus should be, instead of, you know, like, I should already be at this point, or I want to be like where this person is at or whatever. Like, it's not about that. Think about what skills can you really cultivate right now that will outlive all of your businesses, any of your businesses. I mean, you know, businesses come and go. That's just the reality of life, and they don't always last, but your skills are going to keep carrying you from one thing to the next.
Yeah. And I think that if you are focused on cultivating those skill sets, you're naturally, like, that is a byproduct of focusing on developing you. And like, that's the whole thing. That's why we always say it's not about achieving, it's not about gaining, but it's about becoming. Because if you're focusing on developing as a person, no one can take that away from you. Like, nothing, no circumstance, no like tough time, no failure, no transition, nothing can take that away from you. Who you are, the resilience you have, the skill sets that you have, like all the time and energy that you focus on stewarding the gifts that you've been given. Like, what a concept. I feel like that alone is its own discussion, but it's an extension of this one. It's like our culture and our society, like, we're so, you know, we want instant gratification, even in the online space. Like, we're using social media as a way to promote our businesses. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity. I think it's a beautiful gift that we've been given, like, to live in this time where we can do that. But also, everything is so public, and we can kind of get in this cycle where we just want to, experience the next rush, right? Like, we want to launch something. We want to have that photo shoot. We want to rebrand. We want this, public celebration and recognition. And like, I would encourage you to listen to our ego episode that we recorded. But at the end of the day, like, what is all that for? And like, some of it is so empty because, you can launch a new offer and it not be substantial at all. Like, if you haven't worked behind the scenes on what you're creating, if you haven't stewarded the gifts that you've been given to create with excellence, to create from integrity, to really spend time on something, it's empty. It lacks substance.
Yeah.
So, instead of thinking about, I want to chase this destination, I want to chase, where this person is at, or I think I should be, what if we just reframe it and we really, really start rewiring the way that we're thinking, and we start saying, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. All things are working together in perfect timing for my good. Like, I truly believe that, even when you're going through the toughest time and the toughest season, or maybe, other people are living their moment. Like, they're doing all the glamorous things and the fun things, and they are hitting the milestones, but you are behind the scenes in private doing the important work. Like, you're cultivating the skill set. You're working on becoming a better person, better leader, better authority figure, whatever it is. I just think that we forget the importance of that because we're constantly chasing like the highs that these like more public moments or these new flashy glamorous moments will bring, but they can be empty if you get there and you really haven't like worked on you, and you can't even really sustain what you're doing and where you're going.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I feel like it doesn't really matter if like so-and-so is hitting their peak moments. Like, if you see someone else having these like crazy highs, or what is perceived to be a crazy high, on social media and whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should also be at that same moment as that person, right? Like, you're on your own separate journey. And that's why it's so important. And I feel like we touch on this here and there, like a lot. Like, it's so important to focus on you, your business, cultivating your own skills, and like celebrate other people, be happy for other people, but like focusing on you and staying in that zone, that's going to get you farther. So cultivate some skills. That's where your focus should be.
Yeah. Focus on you. Like, and again, I love that Jordan mentioned celebrate other people. I think that that's powerful, and it is important. And when you see that other people are excelling, we really we need to be genuinely happy for people and celebrate people. I think that that's really important. But also, you don't have to focus so much on what other people are doing and what they're building and where they're going. Of course, if you have close friends or you have a sphere of friends, that's totally fine. And that boundary is up to you to set. But if you feel like this is a narrative that's on repeat in your head, where daily you're thinking to yourself, I'm behind, I'm not there yet. Oh, why is this person so far? I think that so much of that stems from the fact that you aren't focused on your path. You're focused on someone else's. When you're focused on someone else's path, you will always be disappointed, frustrated, and feeling like you're not good enough because you're focused on someone else's path. Like, your path is unique to you. Your path is like divinely appointed and meant for you. And when you're looking at what other people are doing, it's just a distraction. Like, it's literally just distracting you. It's holding you back from what you're meant to do. And it's making you feel small because you're not looking at what you're good at. You're not looking at the natural gifts, talents, blessings, things that you've been given. You're looking at what other people have. And I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to have a dedicated episode on this conversation, but I just feel like it's so timely and it's so important because I have fallen victim to this. I feel like I could get emotional about this right now, and I don't know why, but I feel like I just see this so prevalent in our community with so many people, and it kind of breaks my heart because it's like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're so beautiful. You're so talented. You're so gifted. And it's like when you're playing the narrative of, I'm not there yet. I'm not where I should be yet. You're just neglecting all of the beauty, all of the blessings in front of you that are literally preparing you for where you want to go. You are equipped. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the path.
Yeah. Amen. I just have to give some snaps for that because that was so good. Oh my God.
We love to snap.
Yes, gotta give some snaps.
Imagine with me for a second. It's Monday morning. You sit down at your desk with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. You know exactly what to do in order to move your business forward in the form of impact and cash flow. This is a reality for so many inside our Awakening membership, and it's possible for you too. If you're ready to effectively structure your time, actualize your goals without the burnout, and amplify your impact and revenue, our membership can help. As a podcast insider, you can join today and get half off of your first month. Head to myawakening.co/membership and use the code LEGACYINSIDER in all caps at checkout. Again, head to myawakening.co/membership and use the code LEGACYINSIDER in all caps at checkout. We can't wait to serve you on the inside. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about sustainability and like sustaining what we're doing because like you want something that lasts. I mean, at least we do. I don't know about you, but you want to build something that's going to last and stand the test of time, you know. And going back to that conversation of like building your skill sets and focusing on developing you as a person, as a leader, as a business owner, like that is going to allow for sustainability. If you want that to be your focus, then you need to be focusing on building your skill sets. It creates a good foundation for you as a leader.
I honestly feel like people don't talk about this, and it's not maybe like the primary marketing tactic because it is not something that's sexy. It's just like saying success takes time. We all know it, but like who's sitting around like preaching this all the time to their community or using it as a marketing tactic because it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, and I think a lot of people don't really want to accept that fact. And like the same is true with working on you and really like taking the time behind the scenes to put in work that is important, not always feeling like you need to be doing something new and you need to always be doing it in front of other people. Like, I think that there's so many tangents to this conversation, and we've talked about this before, but the same is true with like cultivating your creativity, you know, I think, and there's a balance, but I think that there is something to be said about working on things in private. Sometimes things that no one will ever see, and sometimes things that people will eventually see, but, you know, not always feeling like you have to be creating to show, to, you know, receive that like affirmation and appreciation, but actually like focusing on the work that matters behind the scenes and cultivating skill sets is one of those things. Like how many times, you know, have famous, iconic musicians sat down to like steward their craft before? I mean, the person that comes to mind right now, Ed Sheeran, I actually watched his documentary on Disney, and just watching his story and seeing like where he started and different gigs and things that he would take and how much time he would spend like at home behind the scenes. It was like he lived and breathed the music, and it was such a form of like life and expression for him. And that's what his career is built on, but no one sees that. Right?
And I guarantee you for Ed Sheeran, there were, you know, he loves music, and you can tell in the way that he plays and in his story in general, you can really see that. But you don't see all the moments that he might have been frustrated by music, or he might have been, you know, just trying to learn and cultivate his skills behind the scenes. It's not glamorous to like learn how to play guitar. And some people, you know, it might come more naturally. Maybe he, you know, picked it up easier than other people, but you're like learning those skills, learning how to play scales on a guitar, learning like the actual, like skill of playing a guitar. It's not like glamorous. It's not very fun. It's not like, you know, the glamorous side of music is, you know, seeing people up on stage, like shredding on the guitar, like Jimmy Page. Like you see that and you're like, oh my God, like that's like the pinnacle of like music. But then you don't see all of the mundane moments that it took to get there, because I guarantee you there were so many mundane moments of like, oh, I just need to sit down and like learn how to play this scale. I need to learn how to do this. Like it takes time and effort and you being intentional and actually dedicated to something. That word dedicated just stood out to me so much when I said it, because I feel like a lot of people in this generation just have like struggle to dedicate their time and energy to something, to at least one thing. Maybe it's a few things. Maybe you have a few different skills you want to cultivate, but even just one, it's like you have to dedicate yourself to it. And I feel like a lot of us aren't actually willing to do that. But if you want to grow as a person and a leader, as an entrepreneur, you have to adjust your focus and start really thinking about how, like, what skills am I actually cultivating right now? And if you find that maybe you're not really doing that, because we're all we can all find ourselves in that area where we're just not doing what we want to be doing, right? But if you find yourself not cultivating any skills, I encourage you to like identify like what's the top skill that I would love to focus on, and how much time can I dedicate to that in my weeks, and like really just start getting that ball rolling.
That was so powerful. Like, are you dedicated to something? Are you taking the time to be dedicated to something that you're passionate about? And a lot of times we're just moving too fast to be dedicated. Or we're looking where we shouldn't be looking, aka other people. And so we can't be dedicated to the path before us. Or we don't want it to take too much time. We don't want it to inconvenience us too much, so we can't be dedicated.
Ooh.
But like, what you desire and like anything meaningful requires dedication, you know?
True, yeah.
And you have to find it in yourself to be dedicated. Hey, if you don't want to run a business, by all means don't. There are so many other job opportunities, and there is no shame, because you know what? Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, and that's okay. If you don't want to be a writer, or if you don't want to be a content creator, whatever, don't do those things. Like, you do have to kind of tap into your passions and your desires, because that gives you the willpower to keep going. But like, you have to find something inside of yourself to stay dedicated. I can tell you, there have been so many times where I literally want to throw in the towel, and I'm like, do I want to keep building this business? Do I want to do something different? Do I want to keep doing this way? What if I can't do it? Oh, this sucks. This is painful. This is hard. This hurts. In those moments, I have to dig deep, and I have to find something in myself so that I can remain dedicated to the path before me. And that's like the job of any entrepreneur, of any creative, of really anyone trying to do something meaningful with their life. And meaningful can equal so many different things, right? But I love that topic of dedication and asking yourself, are you dedicated to something right now? And as you are dedicated, as you cultivate those skill sets, that is what allows for the ease of these glamorous moments, where you see Jimmy Page shredding on the guitar, or you see Stevie Nicks just like all whimsical on stage like a freaking fairy. You see Ed Sheeran, you see whatever. We're talking about musicians because we love music. You see Hosier, we love him.
Love Hosier. Side note,
if you don't know, if you haven't heard his latest album, go check out Hosier. But how do they get to that state where they can be on stage and it looks effortless and fun and easy? And some of the moments may be easier than others for them, because they're putting on a show. How do they get there? Because they've cultivated the skills in private that create the foundation for the fun, whimsy, magical moments. It's like, if you are a musician and you're learning the guitar, like Jordan said, you're going to learn scales, you're going to learn chords, progressions, you're going to learn all of these basic fundamentals, so that when you sit down to write a song, when you sit down to perform, that is second nature. So you have the skill, and now you get to apply your unique creative input to that skill, and that's where the magic happens.
I was literally about to say that's where the magic happens, man, because like it like, oh man, all those mundane moments of like learning scales and all that, like it's not fun. Like we've been there, and so that I feel like that's why we talk about it, because like I've had personal experience with that. Like, trying to sit down and learn a scale on like the guitar is so boring, and like I hate it. I hated it. But when you learn those basic fundamentals, then that's where the fun really begins, because you can apply your own voice to it, your own creative voice and your own little spark, like that's where all the special stuff comes from.
Yeah. So, I think what we're kind of really wanting to get at here is that the mundane moments are not insignificant. They're actually the magic. They are the foundation, the thing that allows you to reach this place where you can live fulfilled and you can feel at ease, not always, but sometimes. Like, that's really where the magic is created. And I feel like our society and sometimes our community, hey, even me, like, I mean, we've all been there. I feel like we can confuse mundane with insignificant, you know, because we're constantly chasing these highs, these glamorous moments, what we think we should be doing in order to be quote unquote there. Like we talked about at the beginning of the episode. But when you arrive at the quote unquote destination, when you reach fulfillment of, you know, XYZ goal, you want to be able to sustain it. You also want it to be real, right?
Yeah, I feel like everyone gets so caught up in like reaching the next level or like getting to that elusive like success mark, you know. I feel like people don't realize like you're creating that success right now. You're working towards that mountain peak moment. You're working towards those highs. You're actually working on it right now. Like, you might be in the valley, like crawling on all fours, like trudging through the dirt, and it doesn't feel good, but man, you are making your way up there to that moment. And I feel like when we can realize that, we're creating those moments right now. The process, it just takes time and the effort and the dedication, but eventually you'll reach those moments and you'll get to that, you know, elusive success mark. But then when you get there, then some other, you know, goal is going to arrive in your heart. And like, that's why, you know, in this episode at one point I said like life and business, it's just like a constant journey that is unraveling. Like, you're working towards getting there right now. The work doesn't always feel good, but like you're working towards it right now. And that's important. That is significant. The work you're putting in now is getting you there. Like, you're already on the path.
Like, what is success anyways? Because at the end of the day, all the people out there, the most successful people out there will tell you when they hit XYZ goal that they thought would make them so successful, that wasn't a thing that made them happy or fulfilled. Actually, sometimes you can arrive there and you're empty and you thought it would be different. Because honestly, success is, I think to me, it's more of like a state of mind. Yeah. And it's like, to me right now in this season of my life, it's like, am I taking the action that I feel responsible to take in order to be fulfilled? And do I feel at peace? You know, like, it has nothing to do with these crazy like milestones, right? What is success anyways? You're already on the path right now. And to me, like, that is a form of success. Like, if you're choosing to say yes, if you're choosing to take the action, if you're choosing to do the thing that you feel compelled to do, called to do, to me, that is success. And we have to stop chasing. We have to stop trying to run and sprint to the mountaintops. I use this analogy all the time, but if you were standing looking at a landscape, you're looking at the mountains, you're gonna see, you know, a few mountain peaks, but then you're gonna see that there are valleys. And if you really were to look at that frame, there are going to be more valleys that take up that frame than mountain peaks. Like, the mountain peaks are literally the smallest section of that entire landscape. And like, that is so true about our life. Like, most of our life, most of our business journey, we are either in the valley climbing up that hill or going down that hill. You know, those glamorous mountaintop moments, they are so far and few between. And if you're living only for those moments, you're going to be so disappointed. You're going to be so like unfulfilled, dissatisfied. You're going to be frustrated. And if we can start to reframe and we can start to see that success is ours right now because we're showing up and doing the thing we feel called to do, how much happier and more at peace and more fulfilled will we be? And from that energy, you are going to be able to show up so much more powerfully than if you were showing up from a place of striving where you're trying to sprint up that mountaintop when in actuality you should just be pacing yourself to get there so that when you arrive, you're not, you know, passing out everywhere, you know, like rolling back down the hill.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. Like, because a minute ago you said that word chasing and like chasing the mountain peak moments, and like, I did have that image in my mind of like you just running through the valley, running up the mountainside, like trying to get to the mountain peak moment. And you're going to wear yourself out doing that. You're going to wear yourself thin running and chasing that mountain peak. Pace yourself is such a good like way to put it. Like just take each step and like you will have some semblance of peace when you do that. Like you'll be able to just walk through the valley, make your way up the mountain. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, I've made it. Like, this is beautiful, amazing. Now let's go back down the mountain and let's start a new journey, you know?
Yeah. And stay focused, like stay on your path. Like if there are other people hiking alongside you, don't look at them. Don't try and compete or keep up or get ahead. Like focus on your path, the steps in front of you, and doing what you need to do in order to live out your purpose and your calling. Like stay focused there. So in terms of kind of next steps, and we want to compel you, we want to call you to action, what can you do after this episode? So I think Jordan really hit home on this early on in the episode, but like what skill sets are you wanting to cultivate right now? Like honestly, do you have any that come to mind for you?
For me personally, now we've been talking about music so much, I'm like, I just want to like dive back into music a little bit. Like I would love to sit like, and that's more of like a personal thing. Like I don't think music will ever be more like for other people. I think that's just for me, but for right now at least. But I'm like, I might want to, you know, learn how to properly play the piano because I know some of the basics, but like there's more that I can learn there. I also want to, I feel like photography comes to mind, like really honing that skill. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
I think mine are more like fun hobby things. Like I definitely want to play the piano when we get our piano back. And I'd love to just do more, maybe writing music, maybe writing lyrics because I haven't done that in a long time. That's kind of like my first love of writing was that. And I think for us, because we create so much for other people and we love it. Like this podcast is like our baby and we love creating, you know, we love doing that. Like, and that's a part of our job and we love it. But I do think that there is power in, you know, creating just for you and just, you know, in like a private place for you, for fun, not with like any larger agenda necessarily.
Yeah. So like with this, identify what skill you want to prioritize first. Maybe just like pick one or maybe a couple. And I'm like, it could be for work purposes. It could be something that will help you in your work atmosphere. It could help you in your work setting and whatnot, but you could also pick a skill that's more like fun, like, or random. I just thought of like sewing or something, or like cooking. Crocheting or cooking, or like, it could be more on the hobby side of things, but like those are skills, like learning how to like really cook a good meal. That's a skill that takes some time. And like, maybe that's something you really love is like, you want to dive into the world, like the culinary world. I don't know. It could be more of like a fun skill that you're learning that could definitely come in handy in the future. But yeah, just like think about what you want to prioritize first and start working on that.
Yeah. And I mean, also you can apply it. Maybe you pick one fun thing and pick one thing for your business. Like, you know, I think Jordan and I mean, we're always figuring out what we can work on that's going to contribute to what we're doing at The Awakening. Like right now we're diving into an Instagram course and we're like really refining our strategy there. I know, you know, design is something that you really want to dive into more, graphic design. For me, like lifelong, I will be learning about leadership, but like I'm just on such a leadership kick right now and like consuming all the books and all of the podcasts and all the things. So, you know, what are those skill sets and what are those areas that you want to focus on that can benefit your business as well? And then also, you know, invest your time, be dedicated to that thing. Maybe, you know, it's even investing monetarily into education, right? A course, a program, whatever it is. But I think really the biggest and the most important thing there is like choosing to be dedicated to something.
And being willing to say, I'm going to dedicate this like X amount of time each week to this thing. Like, I think about like setting SMART goals. If you don't know the acronym, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. It's like specific, measurable, etc. But setting like a SMART goal with this for yourself and saying like each week you're going to dedicate a certain amount of time to it, or maybe you want to dedicate like monetarily to some sort of skill, like set that goal for yourself. You could even write it down somewhere, be like, I'm going to do this thing, and note how I just changed it from I want to do to I'm going to do, or like I am doing this thing. I'm going to spend this amount of time doing this, and be willing to show up for it, and like even put it into your calendar. Like we talk about that as well, like make some like white space for yourself, like put it in your calendar of like, at this time, I'm going to sit down and do this thing and take it seriously.
Yeah, remember, this isn't going to feel magical and dreamy, right? Like, this may feel boring, rigid, whatever, but this is what allows you to have those magic moments. So, put it in your calendar, dedicate time to it, invest whatever you need to do. And then, kind of to wrap it all up, like, stay focused. Stay focused on what you want to dedicate your energy to. But I think the most important thing here is just to not get distracted by what other people are doing, where you think that you quote unquote should be, right? Like, stay focused, stay the path, stay the course, keep putting one foot in front of the other as you're, trudging through the valley and you're hiking up that mountain. Like, stay focused on you, stay focused on developing you, on becoming, not necessarily achieving, and definitely not competing with the person next to you, because you're on your own path, and your own path has its own timing and its own course for a very specific reason. Like, I personally believe that there's no like accident, there's no direction that you can go in that's going to like stunt your growth forever. I believe you're always going to be redirected. You're always going to be rerouted to exactly where you're meant to be. Your path is yours for a reason. And looking at someone else is only going to distract you from your unique path that's going to help you feel fulfilled, but also leave the greatest impact on the world that you're meant to have. So stay focused, like keep focused, stay the path.
That's awesome. Love that. I did want to say, if you have any skills that you're like, oh, I really want to try this, like, let us know. Like, post on your stories on Instagram and like tag us at My Awakening Co. and be like, I'm going to be honing this skill, X, Y, and Z, because now I'm curious. I'm like, is anyone going to really like take the next step here and start working on like towards a skill?
Yes.
I want to know.
Tell us. It can be for business. It can be for fun.
Yeah.
But like, maybe we need to start an accountability group for like cultivating skill sets. Like, some of us are going to be cooking and sewing and playing music, and others are going to be like designing and speaking and whatever.
Yeah.
So let us know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So fun.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.